All right, guys. Well, I guess we can get started, and if more people come in later, then that's fine. Um, we can just begin with our group here. It's nice to see everybody. What's up, Benjamin? What's up, Jason, Inez, Patrick, Jamie? Nice to see you all. Thanks for joining. So yeah, we've been reading Think and Grow Rich, and this is the first of 4 sessions to talk about what we've been reflecting on as we've been reading, if we've been, doing the practices that they suggest doing in this book. And this is actually the third time I've gone through this book. I think the prior 2 times actually were audiobooks. So this is the first time I've actually read it, like a physical, I went out and I actually bought the book, so now I'm like actually reading it. And it's kind of, I feel like I actually ingest information better visually. Like when I actually read something, I absorb it a bit more. And it's cool how they emphasize certain lines, and things are bolded and things are italicized and stuff like that. Also, so like the second time I went through the book, I actually listened to it in tandem with this guy Sean West, he makes a lot of content that's really excellent on just like running online business and for social media and for kind of like modern day entrepreneurship stuff. And him and his friend did a discussion synopsis for like every single chapter in the book. So they would like read a chapter and then talk about it, just like what we're doing. But I found that to be really interesting. And I haven't listened to it in a few years, but I found it. And so here's a link to that. And it's cool to go through the book and after each chapter to listen to the podcast where they talk about it, and the way that they reflect on it, and kind of draw parallels with their own lives and stuff like that. And yeah, that's about all I have to say. So definitely can open the floor for other people to speak. I guess like the first thing I'm most curious about is just like why you wanted to read this book in the first place, and kind of like where you're at in your life that you feel that this information can be relevant and useful to you. So anybody that feels called to unmute yourself and share.
All right, I can kick it. Last year on October 30th, I quit my job in Alaska and drove from Alaska to Florida over 2 months. And I tried to live a life of zero resistance. I had finished we've been doing the magic classes, and I kind of been working on my own practices. And you see a lot of these repeating parallel themes, whether it's Think and Grow Rich, the Silva mind control method, just various magic practices, a lot of repeated themes. And I kind of discovered magic on my own, where it's stuff intents that I had set or music I had written coming true. And so it became a matter of kind of experimenting with my own self. And I had found myself in a state of resistance where I'd been told, that it was time to quit, and I had kept putting it off. And then when I finally did, I felt this release. And so I started traveling, and I traveled all the way down to Florida, and then I started my own business. And then I've kind of been putting these things into practice in my own business, and then watching as like once you're on your path, things just kind of open up. So the moments of serendipity have been, I mean, just the stories I have from this past weekend. Like I spent today talking to like two witches. Like I got a gig in Guatemala that I found out was it's a repeated. I'm going back and repeating my trauma loops. So Guatemala was the first country that I left the U.S. for, and it was the first time I saw real poverty and people, so hungry that they were sniffing box glue. And so now I'm going back and repeating these loops. So I'm trying to incorporate also the right mindset and getting out a lot of the shame and fear that came with being raised Catholic. So it's a lot of reprogramming and stuff like this because it's so old and historic. I felt really compelled to read, and that's what kind of drew me to continuing my studies in this.
Awesome, man. Right on. Congratulations for starting your own business. That's great. And yeah, I totally
Thanks.
know what you mean when it comes to like holding on or gripping or having resistance to letting things go. You know, people do that all the time with like jobs, relationships, places that they're living, lifestyle choices, habits, like stuff that's just like not serving you, but it's familiar and will like kick and scream and like grip onto that thing. And then the minute you like let it go, it's like, you know, if things take time, sometimes there's some grief involved. Like if you lose your job, you know, that sucks like at first, but then over time, it's always about just coming into greater alignment with, you know, what we're really actually meant to do in life. And I like that you
Well,
brought up magic too, because like, yeah, definitely, you know, I don't think anybody really generally calls Think and Grow Rich like a magic book. You know, you think about it like it's the kind of book that, you know, these like conservative Republican guys talk about while they're like golfing or whatever. But it's definitely like it's definitely a new thought book, and new thought in my mind is definitely a form of magic, you know. And I think that the kinds of principles in the book, and you know, as we get deeper into it, there's even a chapter on sex transmutation. It's like basically sex magic, you know. And all the it's kind of a magical system that you could, they're emphasizing on the attainment of riches or, you know, wealth creation, but you could use these steps and these principles for anything you'd want to create in your life at all, you know. So yeah, totally.
yeah, I think we're given, the problem is you're given like everything that we talk about in the book, you know, anything you imprint in your subconscious mind is going to come to be. And then the problem becomes we resist what we ask for. And that's where, you know, the pain and misery comes from, is resisting what it is you've asked for. And then you kind of find yourself at odds. So the key is to see how to set the intent of what you want and then not question the path that it takes to get you from A to B. And then as long as you just let it organically unfold, that's when I think you really see, um, you know, and when we get to the concept of faith, I'll explain how personally that kind of happened with me organically. And it was like a really beautiful process. So I'm excited to dig into this.
Cool. Yeah, I've been also reading this book called Existential Kink, which I really love. It's written by Carolyn Elliott, who's a magical practitioner. I think she's a Thelemite actually, but it's, you know, she does talk about magic in the book, but it's more of like a self-help book. You know, and she's talking about how, yeah, whatever is imprinted in our subconscious mind comes to fruition. That's basically the foundational principle of the psychological perspective on magic, but yet actually getting to a place of understanding and sort of ironing out what our subconscious wants, because like our subconscious might want to experience some fucked up stuff, you know what I mean? And it's like what our subconscious mind wants to experience might be like pretty counter to what our conscious mind thinks we want to experience, you know. So it's like it's a deep process. Like what we're actually aware of within our own selves is like it's like the tippy tip of the iceberg, you know. So they talk about auto suggestion and stuff like that, but some of the stuff that that she goes through in this other book, Existential Kink, is really really useful, because like if you find yourself repeating like cycles of poverty or whatever, you know, she basically suggests that that might be satisfying to you on some level. Like it might, and that could, you know, we're dramatic creatures, and that you might want to sort of subconsciously want to experience that suffering or that that pattern for some reason. And so doing the work that she talks about in that book can be useful. And then also Napoleon Hill wrote another book called Outwitting the Devil. That's a great book to read also in tandem with Think and Grow Rich, because Think and Grow Rich is more on like the positive side of things. Outwitting the Devil is more of like the negative side of things, like what happens that stops us from doing what we actually want to do and how to like overcome that. Yeah, sorry. I feel like I'm talking too much, but yeah, totally agree with everything you're saying. And I'll write down these books also in the chat so that you guys can look them up. But if anybody else feels called to share what their intentions are for this group, please unmute yourself and go for it.
Hey Jake. Hey everyone. How's it going? Good to see you again, Jake.
Great to see you.
And Ben. um, Yeah, I'm actually really psyched to have this course with you. I really enjoyed the Unleash the Inner Artist course a lot, and I've read this book all the way through about once, and then kind of picked it up and skimmed through it through different chapters, kind of over time. And so I had a physical copy. I don't have it anymore. And this was actually the first time I went through an audiobook. I usually don't listen to books on audio because it's harder for me to pay attention that way or like absorb the information. But yeah, so going through the Unleash the Inner Artist course, I actually from the time I started it till now manifested a job that I wanted. And so I'm getting paid a fair amount more and make my own schedule, basically the things I wanted at the beginning of the other course that I was trying to tease out. I've actually been able to make happen. And so unfortunately, it doesn't pay as much as I would like. And so I think that's kind of the next step for me as I'm here, is like being able to take the skills and the tools and all of the things I've worked on and now be able to monetize on that a little more successfully. And so just knowing your ties to magic and your other courses, I felt like because the book is really highly on manifestation, I thought that you in particular and like the people that come to your class would have a really deep understanding of that. And I think where the book, you can kind of take a look at the like positive mindset and all the things you can read in words. I thought this course in particular would help to really build on like the inner work and kind of like building it to have a little more depth than just like the words on the page. And so yeah, I feel like I've kind of got from point A to point B, and now I'm kind of at another point. So it's actually perfect timing to kind of get to the building past that and trying to seek a way to yeah, just build on the skills so I can work towards that financial success. I have 3 night jobs as of now, and so like I can get money. It's not the getting money that's an issue. I'm pretty resourceful, but I'm want to break out of the cycle of using my labor hours. And so it's a lot of time that I spend in the week working, literally, 16-hour days sometimes. And so I'd like to push that boundary and maybe find creative ways for like alternative income streams or something like that. And so, yeah, I'm just curious to see what'll, sorry, I feel like I talked a lot now too, but I just feel like I'm curious to see like what that like magic perception can really bring into it.
Do you love what you do though? Can you reach a state of flow in what you're doing?
Yeah, so for the full-time job that I have, it's literally my dream job, and I have no clue how I have it. My night jobs are cleaning jobs. And so I like night clean a clinic, I night clean a hall. I just gained another building, and it doesn't take that long, but it's still, you have to be there doing the things. And I don't mind it. I actually really like cleaning. I throw on a podcast, it's very meditative. But I'd like to find a way to not always have to be somewhere building that. So with my full-time job, it's nice and I'm grateful, but I think that in other places I can definitely get paid much more for what I'm doing. So I'm enjoying my full-time job now. I'm here. I'm trying to not get too far ahead of myself. But I definitely think like financially I can pay more attention to that area in my life and be more intentional about like how I'm managing my finances or uh, um, willing that money towards myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's a book called Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. He wrote, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and all these books. But basically, he talks about how there's these 4 kind of different orientations to how we make money. So the trading time for money thing is like the bottom, it's like the top, I forget, it's either the top left or the bottom left quadrant. And then, like above that is sort of being like small business owner, which is more about your money is yielded through your kind of ideas more so, and then you employ people to kind of like take care of the labor for you. you know, and then that gets into more of like an investor quadrant where, you know, once you've had like a large sum of money saved, then you're earning dividends on investments and stuff like that. But yeah, that's a good book to just kind of like begin to think about these things and like educate yourself and like awareness and how it's almost like it is almost like a class orientation, because like the upper classes tend to be more in the investor class, and like upper middle class tend to be like more business owners, and sort of like lower classes tend to be more in the labor force. So there is kind of like a, based on where you've been, like what you've been exposed to and how you've been raised, it can definitely change your perspective, because these are like shifts of perception and how you make money, you know what I mean, like in how how money happens. And so yeah, it's just, it's an interesting book to, it's like one of those foundational like financial education books that's probably good to look into if you're starting to realize like, oh, there's another way to do this. And I feel like if you already have that awareness and you're like, oh, I actually don't need to trade my time for money, that's like already a great awareness to have, where you're like, oh, I could totally start some other kind of business or entrepreneurial endeavor in which I don't need to be trading my time for money, and then the income could be exponential. And you know, because a lot of, in a lot of the cases with sort of entrepreneurial kind of endeavors, is like you put in the work at first, and then afterwards it kind of just like builds exponentially, but you can, it's more passive in a way, like a lot of the time, and it just requires some like management and upkeep, you know. And that's definitely like my preferred way of doing things and earning money. But it's, yeah, totally something you can do too. It's like just to be open to like what you're really passionate about, and seeing how you can sort of monetize that. And another, I'm just like throwing out all these book recommendations, but like another good book with that is called Crushing It by Gary Vaynerchuk. You know, Gary V is like a great sort of motivational speaker. He's like so encouraging. You just watch his videos and you're like, I can do anything. But yeah, it's a he's great at like info on how to basically make that transition and to monetize on your passions.
So I guess I'll have to go, and I'll keep it short. Nice to see you, Jake and Jamie. Good to meet you again. Yeah, I felt after doing 2 Unleash Your Inner Artist courses, it's my natural progression to sort of go into the areas of money making more and manifesting money. After diving deep in Unleash Your Inner Artist, and I've been working some quite annoying market jobs, and I feel like it's just necessary for me to go the next step and, you know, think and grow rich. And I love Jake Coplin's weird book clubs around 4 a.m. in the morning.
Cool, nice to see you here. Yeah, I mean, it is Think and Grow Rich. I think that this constantly emphasized about how it's like a mental perspective, and that's like the seed root of where all this stuff comes from. So Inez, Patrick, and Mateo, do you want to share?
Hi, it's for me it's difficult because my English is shit. So I have so much to say, but my brain is like translating. But I just read 1 chapter today, not all of it, because I'm like in this big transition. I moved out for my new home. It's my first time living alone. I so okay, the English is bugging. But I moved out from a toxic relationship for years, and I course that I made with the tarot, meditation, and laws of attraction, but I didn't read at that time. And thanks for creating this space. And it's curious because this relationship that I was into, this guy had lots of money, and so he came from a rich family. So when I was reading the chapter today about these millionaires and how they do the thing and they build the empires and etc. I can see some similarities to the family that I met. Sorry, the English. But in my case, I came from a family. I don't consider it as poor, because for me, poor people don't have nothing to eat, and that was not my case. So it was like a lacking mentality. So always my mom saying, here in Portugal we say the life of poor. It's Portuguese mentality is very lacking. So how can I now translate? When I become financially, emotional, and all dependent in this last relationship, so I just had to trust my intuition, and I did it. I move out. I'm here. I have right now I have 0 in my account. I have like 18 euros. I have to pay my rent tomorrow, but I will. And this is my money is like it appears when I need it, but it's like this, you know. But I'm trusting it. I will pay the rent. When I enter this house, I knew this is, I don't know how, but this is my house, and I'm here, and I'm going to do the thing. And thank you for creating this space again.
Hi. To me, it's like I just went in a very big depth right now, so I'm still trying to make a little bit of peace of mind into how I can reconcile owing an exorbitant amount of money and still being able to, in a way, or at least in a future, manifest financial success. Like it's a very strange dichotomy. So yeah, I'm also a little bit confused about how I can maintain like a positive attitude about money when all around me, all I can see, all that I am feared, like in a very sorry, my English is also a little bit bad, but how I can be outside of this environment that focus only on the lack of money and how we hate everybody that has money. And yes, this is how has been my week or my process right now. Investing, really. I invest in Forex and that, and because of political reasons, oddly enough, outside of Russia, I lost a loan that I take in order to make this business grow. So yeah, that's how I lost my money.
Cool. I guess I'll go last. Nice to meet all you. Jake, nice to meet you. I think I remember a long time ago, maybe there was supposed to be a some kind of podcast session thing that maybe I was supposed to hop with you on a long time ago. Never happened. But how I got to this book and you guys, let's see, learned about magic like 2 years ago, probably around when the like quarantine kind of started, and started reading a lot into it. And now, currently, I feel like it is the focus is financial stability for me, at least right now. Because for me, my plans as a person, I would like to maybe financially support a family at one point. So part of the magic for that, the yeah, basically doing magic for that. um, and I feel like I don't know, like a lot of in this book can help kind of scaffold what I need to do and layer. And I feel like also being in a group of people that also are money conscious and smart, I think is a good thing to do, also in conjunction with getting on top of, I don't know, wealth and finances. So yeah, thank you.
Right on. Well, nice to hear from you, Inez and Mateo and Patrick, and glad you guys are here. Yeah, I mean, this thing about sort of like not knowing where your money is going to come from, and like not having any money and then it comes, and like I've lived like that. It's a stressful way to live, and I think that there's just a point at which you get tired of the stress that causes. Like it's hard on your body and your nervous system. And probably like the best way to overcome that is by being like a business owner, like by starting your own business, creating your own, being sort of like a boss, right, instead of an employee. Because then you're kind of, if you can build that and have consistency with that, then you always have income. Like it's kind of on you, but if you can get that gear turning, and like just sort of, it's like a wheel that builds momentum as it's rolling down a hill, I feel like. And that's pretty much the step to to stop trading your time for money, or to get out of the place of like where you don't know where your income is going to come from because you're the one responsible for it. Yeah, that was just a little thing that came to mind. I think that that's a pretty accurate reflection. So yeah, like the first two chapters were the power of thought, which is obviously sort of the premise of the entire book, and like how the riches that we are going to experience in our lives have their starting place in a thought or an idea or a desire. And that's the first kind of step, is desire. And I guess what I was thinking about during this chapter is how it really does take a strong desire. Like a lot of people kind of complain about not having money, but they're actually super content and comfortable not having money. And it's more of just like an act that they're putting on because of what society tells them. And I think if you're okay with not having money, and like you sort of weirdly enjoy, from like an existential kink perspective, like being broke and whatever, and like experiencing that, that's fine, but it does seem to take like a really strong desire. Like you like really have to actually be like, this, I really want this, and yeah, if you don't have a really strong desire towards becoming wealthy or towards finances, it's like you maybe have that really strong desire towards something else, and that's probably where your attention is better put. But yeah, that was just a thought, because like I definitely have known people that are like always struggling with money,